So tell me how my wife and I were nearly abducted during our most recent camping trip. My wife Linda and I have always enjoyed camping. In fact, we first met when we were both in college and on a camping trip with our school. Anyway, we like to go way out into the woods. I'm talking you lose cell signal and have to truly rely on your ability to survive in the wild. We own a hatchback Honda Civic, and that took us as far as this trail would lead us before we had to get out and hike. We parked the car, and I kept the keys in my pocket. We both hiked for about 10 minutes until we found an amazing clearing that overlooked the mountains. Our elevation had to be at least 10,000 feet, and we were able to see everything. We spiked our tent and decided that this would be the place where we sleep for the night. After we had everything set up and had the fire going to cook our dinner, it was dark outside. The moon was behind the clouds that night, and literally the only light we had came from our campfire. It's unnerving sometimes when it's that dark out, but that was one of the reasons we loved camping so much. As we finished our meal and started winding down for the night, we started to hear distant voices. Now, is it entirely out of the realm that other people would be camping in our same location? No, it's not. But it was very late at this point, and anyone with half a brain knows it's not safe to be walking around at this time of night. Which meant only two things. Either the voices we were hearing were people who were lost, or up to no good. Before we started jumping to any sort of conclusions, Linda and I strained our ears to listen better. The voices were coming from behind us, the path we walked to originally get there, but they were also speaking a different language. If I had to guess, Spanish. We sat there for a solid 10 minutes just listening, as these voices grew nearer and nearer. Then, out of nowhere, they started yelling. Not only that, but we heard rushing footsteps. I should have done more than just sit there like a dumbass waiting for whoever these voices belonged to. We had no chance to react when 5 men came sprinting into our clearing. They were breathing hard and sweating. They were talking fast to each other and pointing at both of us. I grabbed Linda. I put her behind me and guarded her from whatever they might try to do. I yelled out, "What do you want?" They all just laughed at me. One of them, whom I'll never forget, he was wearing this big blue Miami Dolphins hat and a ripped wife beater. He started pointing at my wife and licking his hand aggressively. The 5 of them started moving in closer to us. I could see at least 2 of them had these pocket knives in their hands. The one with the hat grabbed a knife, pointed at me, and mimicked slashing his throat. The fear of God was inside of me, and I did not even think. I only reacted. They were literally within arm's length of us when I kicked the fire at them. Hot wood and embers flew at them, one even hitting them in the face. It was brief, but it was all I needed. I yanked Linda and yelled, "Run." Like 2 crazy people, we full-on sprinted past the 5 men. We ran, our faces and legs cut up and spliced from the tree branches. It was so dark, we both fell multiple times, pushing through all the pain. I knew the general direction to where our car was, and prayed to God we were actually heading towards it, and not deeper into the unknown woods. Their footsteps were so close behind us. I could hear them laughing and screaming. It sounded like they could just reach out and grab us. By the grace of God, we managed to get to our car. I had a brief yet horrible realization that I may have dropped my keys while running. They were still in my back pocket, and I unlocked the doors. We got in, and as I turned on the headlights, we saw all 5 of them only about 20 yards out, full on running at us. I reversed so hard I backed into a tree, shattering my left tail light. I spun the wheel, and We both screamed as all 5 of them slammed into our car, yelling and yanking at the door handles. I put it in drive, hit the gas, and drove. One even tried to jump on the hood, but I swerved him off. We drove down the path until we hit the main road. We drove straight home. The entire time, Linda was crying and bleeding from all the branches and bushes we ran through. I remember having such terrifying clarity. I realized that, right before we heard those guys' voices, I was going to put my keys inside the tent. And if I had done that, we for sure would have been dead. We left in such a hurry that all of our stuff, including our phones and personal belongings, were back at the campsite. The next few days were rough, but we decided to return to the site with police. We went during the day, and when we got there, everything was gone. Our phones, our supplies, everything. The only thing left behind was our single tent we pitched, which had a huge X slashed in the top. Linda has since been going to therapy, and me, I've just been dealing with all this internally. We came so close to what I'm positive was certain death. We haven't been back camping yet. I'm not sure if we ever will again. If we do, trust me, this time I'll be armed. I never want to feel that vulnerable again. About 3 years ago, I invited a few of my close friends to come over to my place for a backyard campfire. I should state that my parents' backyard is acres of woods. The only animals we really see around here are deer, groundhogs, and the occasional fox. Well, it was around 10 p.m. at night. We had the fire going, some music playing, and a tent set up. Our plan was to stay up as late as possible, and then camp out there in the tents for the night. We were jamming out to some Drake, when my one friend, River, turned down the speakers. We all asked him what's up. Why did he do that? He was looking out into the dark woods and stood up. He said, "Dude, I think I saw something." We all looked in his direction, trying to see any sort of movement. I reminded him that there are deer out there, so it could be that. He shook his head no. He said no. It looked like someone doing a handstand in between the trees. I'm sorry, but we all cracked up at this. River was normally the scaredy cat of our group, and I told him most likely it was an animal, or possibly our shadows, dancing from the fire's camplight. We all tried to calm him down, but he was still pretty nervous. I sat next to him and reassured him that I lived here my whole life. Nothing ever weird or creepy has happened. He nodded his head okay, but he wasn't breaking eye contact with the tree line. Not too long after, we all started to get pretty tired. We started packing up our stuff. I told River I would keep the fire burning, because that usually wards off any animals that might be out there. We all gathered into the tent, got into our sleeping bags, and went to bed. I remember the time vividly. It was 1:03 a.m., according to my phone. The reason I knew the time was because I suddenly woke up. I've always been a light sleeper, and despite me downplaying River's concerns earlier, I was always on edge a bit when I camped out back. There was a distinct noise coming from the fire pit. At this point, from what I could see through the nylon tent, the fire was merely embers at this point, almost out completely. But I heard this loud patter, like feet walking on the grass. I looked in the tent, and all my friends were sound asleep. I remember telling myself it could just be a deer, but I knew I had to at least peek out the tent so I could sleep again without being paranoid. I leaned closer to the zipper and slowly pulled it up. I only pulled it up slightly, maybe 3 inches. when I was suddenly face to face with some man's face that was upside down. It was the most bizarre and mind-bending moment in my life. I thrashed backwards, inadvertently pulling the zipper up higher, only to be met with the sight of some grown-ass man doing a handstand. His face was flushed. All the blood was flowing to it. He literally did not make one sound and looked right at me. I screamed, "Holy fuck, get the fuck away from me." This woke up all my friends. I pointed at the zipper, and they all saw him. I wish I could say we were braver, but we all literally were frozen in shock. I remember trying to grasp for anything in the tent we could use as a weapon to defend ourselves. Just as I grabbed onto a random stick, we all watched in horror as the man ran. Well, not ran, but bolted back into the woods while still in that handstand position. And this fucker was fast and agile. Like, he moved in that position with such ease and ability. I could not believe what I was seeing. None of us waited around to see if he would come back, and we all sprinted back to my house, yelling and screaming our heads off. We woke up my parents, explaining everything that happened. At first they were pissed, but when they saw how scared we were, they realized we weren't lying or trying to play a prank. My dad went out with his gun and pretty much canvassed the woods for a mile. He did not find anything. But it gets worse. I'm part of a Facebook group for our neighborhood, like one where you share updates and stuff that goes on. Well, I posted in there, telling everyone what my friends and I saw the night before. Two of my neighbors who live on the opposite side of my neighborhood said they saw that same man too. He was running across their yards while doing a handstand, and one of them even caught it on their security cameras. None of us have any clue who he was, and no one recognized him. I have never experienced anything so strange and abnormal in my life. I also profusely apologized to River for not taking his concerns more seriously. We've had police patrol our neighborhood for about a week, and even still, no sightings. Fuck camping outside in our backyard. Now when I have my friends sleep over, we stay in my room where it's safe. And as for that man, it'll take a long time before his upside-down face and the image of him running away in the handstand position will go away. This literally happened a week ago, and I had to share it with you. I live in a small town out in North Carolina. I was recently divorced, and it's affected me pretty hard. I'll admit I've been depressed, and I've been drinking and smoking more than I should have, but that's besides the point. My therapist has been telling me that it would be good if I was out in nature more. Nothing crazy like climbing a mountain, but she did suggest that I go camping or take a hike. She said the outdoor air helps heal the mind and can heal my inner trauma. I was willing to do anything at this point to help get over my horrible divorce. There's a plot of woods near my place, and I just decided fuck it. I'm going camping for the weekend. I bought some shitty tent at Walmart and basic camping supplies, and drove myself over to the campground. I did not tell anyone I was doing this, not even my mom, whom I'm closest with. I'll admit, that was a dumb decision on my part, but I felt like this had to just be me, and no one could mess it up. I arrived early morning Saturday. It was a bright sunny day, and I felt like I was already starting to heal. It was probably a placebo effect, but whatever. I'll take a small win. I did not go too far from the parking lot, maybe 100 yards into the woods. I wanted to heal, but I also did not want to die, as I don't know shit about camping. I'll admit, being outdoors is great and all, but doing it by yourself, it gets very boring. I remember it being pretty empty and quiet too. I think I only saw maybe 1 or 2 families that entire day, either hiking by or getting into their cars. here's where it starts to get freaky. It was around 7 p.m., and I was doing some breathing exercises by my tent when there was this little girl standing in my clearing. She had on a pink rainbow shirt with a puffy blue ballerina skirt. I laughed at first because her outfit was so not what you would expect to see in the woods. She stood by a tree, looking kind of nervous. She could not have been older than 6. I asked her if she wanted any marshmallows, expecting to see her parents appear any second behind her. She declined the marshmallows. At this point, I asked her where her parents were. She had this sad look on her face and twisted her feet in the dirt. I started looking all around, wondering if they were nearby. Maybe 10 minutes had passed at this point, and the sky was going from the golden yellow to a deep purple. I was getting worried that maybe she was lost and alone. I asked her if she needs help finding her parents. When I took a step forward, she turned and ran away. I called out to her, but she just kept running. I walked back to the parking lot where there was a little guard station. I informed the worker there that I had just seen a little girl, and I think she may have lost her parents. He was some young kid and did not seem too concerned. He said no one has come to him yet and reported anyone missing, but he'll be sure to keep an eye out. Honestly, because he wasn't concerned, I wasn't either. I'm not an expert camper, and I figured that families came out here frequently and probably let their kids wander around a bit. I hiked back to my tent, pretty much relieving my stress of a missing child. By the time I got back, it was dark. The only light I had was from my phone, and I immediately got to work on making a fire. I sparked a match and lit the Duraflame logs that I had brought. Dumb, I know, but again, I had no idea how to light a fire without help. The second the fire ignited, I saw that little girl standing a few feet away from me, and it scared the ever-living shit out of me. I did not hear her walk or any movements, and have no idea how she would appear without me hearing her. I laughed nervously and asked if she was okay. But that's when I noticed her outfit. It was exactly the same, except this time, she was caked in mud, like all over. It was actually pretty scary, because the dark mud on her face made the whites of her eyes really pop and stand out. I tried talking in a non-concerned voice, and asked her if she was lost or needed help. Without answering me, she proceeds to lay flat on the ground, lift both of her arms up, and point up at the sky. She said, "That's where I live," while pointing up at the stars. At this point, I'm thinking this girl might have been drugged or something is wrong. I tell her to get up and follow me. I can help you find your parents. But she did not move. She stayed lying down, pointing to the sky. And I seriously had no clue what to do, other than to go back to the guard working and bring him over. Since she wasn't moving, and I had no intention of picking her up, I told her to wait there, and I'd be right back. I ran as fast as I could to get back to the parking lot and to the guard station. The same kid was still working, and I told him that same girl is at my campsite, and I think she's lost. He was giving me some lazy excuse of not wanting to go with me because no one reported anything, when there was this massive, loud bang in the woods. Like it sounded like a bomb went off. We both turned to look, and the weirdest, creepiest thing happened. There was some flashing purple light glowing in the woods. Think Barney at a nightclub, but on steroids. It flashed for maybe 10 seconds, then stopped. Nothing. Not knowing what the hell that was, both me and the guard went to check it out. We could not find anything that exploded or could have caused that purple flashing light. And when we went to my tent, the girl was gone. But here's the weirdest part. The guard went to the other families camping nearby. None of them claimed to hear the loud explosion or see the purple flashing lights, which was absolutely mind-blowing to me, as I was positive people from 10 miles away could have heard that. Something was not sitting right with me, and nothing was adding up. The little girl, the bang, the purple lights. I packed up my shit that night and drove my ass back home, where I felt much safer. The next couple of days, I tried to do as much research as possible to see if there were any new reports of missing girls. There was none that I could find. Yesterday, I went to my therapist and told her about my camping nightmare. You know what she told me? That I most likely hallucinated the whole thing due to my divorce trauma. I wanted to curse her out so bad and explain that the guard who was also working heard and saw everything that I did, minus the little girl. And now, as I'm writing this to you, I have zero conclusions on what actually happened out there. Like, what the fuck did I actually experience? Now I'm not only dealing with trauma, but also this. If I have any type of updates, I'll be sure to let you know.
Hey, what's up guys? It's Spooky. If you've made it this far, congratulations, you survived. If you did not know, I have an Instagram. Follow me on there so we can connect. I also have a Patreon. On there you'll have direct access to me and can see the upcoming videos, polls, and soon-to-be exclusive stories only shared on there. If that's something that interests you, please consider joining. That's all I have for you guys tonight. Stay spooky and I'll see you in the next video.